Welcome to the Truman Charities podcast, a community of caring. I am Jamie Truman, your host. I'm one of the co-founders of Truman Charities. Our organization has raised over $1 million for several different charities as we share our message of helping others and paying it forward. We plan to continue to educate our audience on the culture of giving. On this podcast, I will interview fellow charity founders, volunteers, sponsors, and other people in the community who will share their stories. You will hear and be inspired by their selflessness and passion for helping others. Welcome to another episode of A Community of Caring. My guest today is Stephanie Rosen. She is the Executive Director of the Montgomery County, and that's in Maryland, of the National Alliance of Mental Illness. So Stephanie, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being a guest. I know you guys are so busy, but for people that don't know a lot about you, can you just tell us kind of your story and why you chose to be in the mental health field?
Sure. So NAMI is kind of unique in the mental health space. NAMI is very much a peer-led organization, very much in the grassroots. So all programs that NAMI does are led by either individuals living with mental illness or family members of individuals living with mental illness. They may happen to be a professional, but when you're wearing your NAMI hat, you're a peer. And so the reason why I got involved with NAMI is I actually took one of the classes. I took a class called Family to Family. I have a dear relative, I'll just keep it anonymous for now, who lives with bipolar disorder. And it was really difficult for our family, extremely difficult to accept that that's what his diagnosis was, to help him get treatment, and then to also understand and accept what our role is as loved ones and as caregivers. And so my mom had actually taken the course and suggested that I take it. So I took it and it changed my life. I not only then understood what it was to be a caregiver, but I came to accept my own mental health condition. So I live with depression, and I very much thought, oh, well, that's not a real mental illness. I'm still able to go to school or work. It's not as bad as others. There's a huge spectrum of mental health disorders. But taking that class really drilled into me how important acceptance is. And it's okay to live with a mental health condition. It's okay that I have mental illness. It is not my fault. And I can live a really great life with it. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean it's going to, be cured. But I can still live a really great life. And so taking that class, like I said, changed my life. And then I started teaching the class with my mom. And that was a really fantastic experience, being able to give back in such an important way. It's hard to find volunteer opportunities where you can make such an impactful change in people's lives without being a professional. So it was a really, really awesome experience. And when NAMI Montgomery County was looking for new family program coordinator, I said, hey, I'll do it. And that's what started my real passion for public health, my real passion for helping people change systems and helping people with not only treatment, but prevention. So the whole spectrum.
When I'm listening to you and you're telling me about this class that really changed your perspective on a lot of mental health issues, and you're saying that it really helped you understand, as you said, was a family member, correct?
Yes.
That was dealing with bipolar. And actually, personally, one of my dear, dear friends a few years ago found out that she was bipolar too. And it's been a real journey to try to understand and empathize. So I really love that class you're talking about. So when you were in this class, just to kind of clarify, is that when you were able to understand your depression?
Yeah, so I was there for my loved one. I was there to learn how to be a better caregiver. But a lot of the class is, as a caregiver, you have to understand it's not your fault either. You have to understand that, And then also understand what your limits and boundaries are. The individual living with the mental illness really does have to accept and take over their own recovery. Maybe not in the beginning, but certainly in the process of maintaining recovery and preventing crisis. So that process of learning to accept and really understand that whatever the mental illness may be, it's not their fault. It's not your fault. It really I realized it wasn't just for my loved one. It was also for me, because I had started out actually in medical school. So I very much wanted to be a doctor. That was everything I had worked towards. And that's when I first had my first really serious bout with depression. And I ended up leaving medical school. And so that was this very painful thing in my life that I hadn't quite come to grips with. And so that's why it was this acceptance piece was so important. This understanding that it's not anyone's fault if they live with a mental health condition. And then sometimes your behaviors while you're symptomatic, they're not your fault either. And that's the really hard part about mental health conditions versus somatic or body issues is everyone thinks that they're in control of their behaviors. And you are most of the time. But mental illness can sometimes rob you of that if it's symptomatic.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the stigmas that you see now that still, I mean, I can't believe it's what is it, 2022, and having some of these stigmas going on, but what are some of them that you see?
There's absolutely stigma. And in various communities, the stigma can be even greater. But in the time that I've been executive director of NAMI Montgomery County, there's been a lot that I've come across. It's funny because I work in this bubble where mental health conditions are completely accepted. And then I leave that bubble every now and then, and I'm reminded. But, there's this idea, well, it's an invisible illness. You can't see someone limping. You can't see someone physically in pain. Emotionally, they may be in pain, though. So I think because it's invisible, people think that you've got control over it, or maybe it doesn't really exist. And there's fear around that. There's fear around the fact that a mental health condition can change your behavior if it's symptomatic. You may not be acting like the person that they always knew. Mental health conditions can add symptoms, and they can also take away pieces of you that you were always there, like maybe the ability to concentrate or the ability to socialize in the way you always have. So not only are you adding symptoms, but you can have things that have always been a part of you taken away. And so that's very scary for people who aren't as familiar with mental health conditions. So specifically, some stigmas that I've experienced or that I've seen, one that really broke my heart was we were doing a presentation in a school. And after the presentation, a high school student came up to me and she said, I live with depression. I have suicidality. I have thoughts of suicide, but it's okay because my friends are watching out for me. And, I never want to hear that. I want to hear that this person is getting professional help, that this person has a real safety net around them, because that's a lot of pressure to put on some friends, She said she wasn't able to get help because her parents felt like if she wanted to die, she should die. And so that is stigma at its worst, this idea that it's not her brain telling her that she's in so much pain that there's no other way out, that it's somehow her fault that she has these thoughts. And so that's, like I said, that's stigma at its absolute worst. And I don't doubt that these parents love their child. I don't doubt that they're doing the best they can. I just wish, like I said, I wish for everybody to understand, even though you can't see it, doesn't mean it's not real. And that people really do suffer. They can get better, but they can also, go through really hard times.
Now, how did that make you feel? I can't imagine someone saying that to me. How did you feel when she was telling you this?
Well, extremely sad that, her support system was limited to other high school students. I've course, reached out to her counselor immediately. I, of course, let the school know what I had found out. She needs a lot of support. She also said she wasn't allowed to see any therapist or any professional people, and that her parents, knew how long it took to get from school to home. And I just wish for the parents and her to get more education, to understand that it's not her fault, and to understand that there are treatments available.
Talking about, you're just mentioning there is a girl that was in school when you visited the school, and talking about how the school, with COVID, they had closed. And so it's been very isolating. And I've talked to other people of different foundations. They've said it's been very hard on the community with mental health. And so in your opinion, what have you seen, and how have you guys been helping these individuals because they've been in such isolation for such a long period of time?
Yeah, COVID's been interesting on mental health. Not only has it taxed our healthcare system when it comes to hospitals and availability of beds and availability for treatment, but like you said, the isolation, the uncertainty, economic crisis, all of those things we know lead to worsening or the appearance of mental health conditions. So at our organization level, we have a 30% increase in attendance with our support groups, and we're happy to be there. We want to serve as many people as we can. Our programs are free. You just go to our website, call us, sign up, join. But at the same time, it does break my heart that so many people are struggling. Support systems that you had at work or had at school are all of a sudden not as readily available as they were before. Perhaps you lost your job, or perhaps, you had to change careers. I also do know, so not just students losing that whole component of being in school in person. I know from personal experience, being the mom of a 3-year-old, that all of a sudden having your toddler at home all the time is an entirely new stress. So parents have really been going through it as well, balancing work and having kids at home. It's just not something we ever thought we had to prepare for, but we're certainly responding to it in the best way we can. I'm really looking forward to, so federally, they're launching a phone number called 988, and that's going to be the 911, but for mental health conditions. So nationally, you'll be able to dial 988 starting in July of this year, and you'll be connected to mental health care professionals as well as rapid response teams. And we're really pushing for some solid funding for that in the state of Maryland. NAMIs everywhere are pushing for that to be really well funded. Mm-hmm. But we want to make sure that people in crisis are connected to the right resource.
Oh my gosh. I hadn't heard of, what is it? You said 988?
Yes, 988.
And that'll be in July. That is fantastic. Yeah. And you're talking, you say, yeah, I have, a 3-year-old, and when the lockdown started, I was pregnant. I had a 3-year-old. A 3-year-old, he was 3. I was pregnant. And then I had a 17-year-old at the time. And so I kind of got to see, like, from babies up into like teenagers, kind of the effect of it. And, my friend that I was talking about earlier that was dealing with bipolar, she ended up having a really bad episode based on the isolation. Yeah. So it's just been affecting people, and we're seeing a light now. So that's great. And, because of organizations like yours, people have been able to create that support system that they may have lost during this time through your community. So I really want to talk about the programs that you do have.
Yeah, I love talking about our programs. It's why I love what we do. So at NAMI Montgomery County, we offer quite a few of the NAMI signature programs, and those kind of come in 3 different forms. There are classes, there are support groups, and there are presentations. So our classes, they happen multiple times throughout the year. We have classes for individuals living with mental health conditions, and that's called peer-to-peer. We have classes for caregivers, family members, and that's called family to family. We understand people can wear multiple hats. Just like me, I live with a mental health condition and I have a loved one. But depending on what you need help with at that time determines which class you take. And those classes are taught by amazing volunteers who have been through it all. And you're in a room right now virtually, but you're virtually in a space where everybody understands what you're going through, how stressful it is, how maybe other people or other families don't understand. It's really that community that you build. All of our programs, we want to build community because nobody should go through this alone. It's too much to go through it alone. And that's how NAMI was founded back in the late 70s, was nobody should be alone in this process. And so, like I said, we have these classes. They're free. You enroll, you show up. We'll let you know when and where. Like I said, they're still virtual at this point in time, but we hope to come back. We hope to have a hybrid model pretty soon when it's safe for our volunteers to and our participants to be together. The other type of program we have is the support group, and those are more of a drop-in basis. You're not committing to a certain number. You register through our website, and that is NAMIMC.org. I'm sure I'll be saying that again at some point. But our support groups are on a drop-in basis. And again, they're separated by your relationship to mental illness. So either if you're concerned for yourself, you would go to a group called NAMI Connection Recovery Support Group, or we just call it Connections. If you're a family member, you would go to Family Support Group. The reason why we separate them is not because everybody isn't dealing with the same mental health condition. It's just they're dealing with it in different ways. Caregivers have very different frustrations than the individual living with a mental health condition can. And so we just find that it's really great for caregivers to be in a room with caregivers and for the individual to be in a room with other individuals dealing with their own and managing their own mental health. And then the third type of program that we have are presentations. We have brave and phenomenal speakers who share their story of living with mental health condition with a variety of audiences. Those first-person stories are so much more impactful than me standing up and saying 1 in 4, 1 in 5 live with a mental health condition and, doing whatever it is I can to impress upon people how important this topic is and how pervasive it is, and how they can be part of the solution. But when someone stands there and says, hi, I live with schizophrenia, and this is what it's like to hear voices, or hi, I live with bipolar disorder, and here's how I feel when I'm manic, or I live with depression, here's what depression feels like. It's so much more impactful. So we do those presentations for all kinds of different audiences. One that we have recurring is with a nursing school. And it's really great because the audience gets to ask whatever questions they want. They get to really kind of meet this open book who's ready to talk about it. And it's a really great experience for our volunteers too, because this really scary thing, sharing something that you feel could be shameful, becomes this proud moment where you're sharing your story, you're making a difference. And I've never had an audience, not be really supportive of the individual. So impressed that they shared their story. I've shared my story in that kind of audience as well. And I found it awesome.
What was that like, sharing your story in front of a huge audience?
Well, it was before I was executive director. It wasn't a massive audience. It was a small audience. It was I think, a chapter. It was a high school girls group. It wasn't Girl Scouts, but it was kind of like that.
Okay.
And I shared my story, and it went in a direction I had no idea it would go. By the end, one girl raised her hand and said, I have mental illness. And someone else, I have mental illness. I have mental illness. And that was I didn't want everyone to self-diagnose with mental illness. But at the same time, I was really touched that everyone was willing to share and people were willing to talk about, it's not just the stranger that's come to talk to us. It's affecting us as a group as well.
Wow. I always say that. And I love doing these podcasts and these interviews because I feel everyone has a story and everybody's story is unique. And when you share it, people end up being like, oh my gosh, listening to it, been like, oh, I'm not alone. Like there's somebody like me out there. And it's very comforting to a lot of people to be able to hear somebody that understands them. When unfortunately, sometimes when you go home and you're the caregiver, you don't know what they're going through. It's hard for you to understand. So to kind of connect with someone that's so special. Now, is there anybody that, other than yourself, because you did such a great presentation, but is there anybody that kind of sticks out in your mind of that you've listened to that really has had an impact on you?
Yeah, a lot of our speakers have had an impact on me. One of our speakers, she describes depression as the dirty liar in her brain. Her depression lies to her, tells her that things are terrible when they're not, tells her people don't like her when they do. It's this force in their brain that, like I said, is a dirty liar. Mm-hmm. And that just really stuck with me, that description of it. I've been able to think of my own depression and like, okay, don't lie to me. Like, that's not what's really going on. So it's distorted thoughts. Mm. We have a really awesome speaker who lives with schizophrenia, and he uses humor really, really well in his story. And, he ends his, he had a period of time where he thought he was running for president. Really, in his mind, this is real. This is true. He's on the ballot. He's running for president. And he ends his speech with, I'm doing great. I'm well, but if you see me on the street corner, I'm running for president, give me a hand. So he uses humor to shed light on, some of his delusions and hallucinations.
Something that can be pretty dark.
Yeah, it can be, but it makes it really accessible for the audience and makes you understand that person that you may see that you feel like is not in touch with reality, understand that it's real for them. Those are just two speakers I can think of off the top of my head.
We could go on for hours because I actually really enjoy myself listening to some of these, stories and these speakers. But, I do want to talk a little bit about, so when you go on your website, you have this really great video of your NAMI Walk.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to talk about that. It looks like a lot of fun. You have so many people participating, and I want you to talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So our NAMI Walk is going to be this year, and I'm embarrassed. I'm looking up the date right now. It is going to be May 21st, and that is a United Day of Hope, meaning that NAMIs all over the country are all doing activities on May 21st to really bring attention and bring awareness to mental health conditions. Our walk is a really great time. I've participated in these walks for 10 years now, and I love them, absolutely love them, because it is such a warm community, and it's such a great space to say, like, everyone around me cares about mental health and has a story and has a connection. It's a really good family activity. I've always taken my daughter, and other people take their families, their dogs. Dogs are encouraged.
If somebody wants to participate this year, where do you guys walk? How do they register? How does it work?
Yeah, so NAMI Walks is, like I said, a national movement. And here in Montgomery County, we have our walk on May 21st, and it's going to be at Rio in Gaithersburg. So there's plenty of parking. It's a really nice walk around the lake. It can be a 5K if you do the lake several times, but it is okay if you just do it once. And I am looking up the website should be www.namiwalks.org. That's NAMIWALKS.org /Montgomery County MD. So it's a lot, but it makes a lot of sense. So it's namiwalks.org /Montgomery County MD. You can create a team. You can be an individual walker. We have a lot of really phenomenal teams who raise amazing amounts of money, which helps us bring our programs free to the community. And this is also another really great way to show your family and friends what mental health means to you. It's really, really amazing to see how many people come out and support, or just how many people donate. Give $5, and that makes a huge difference. And so we're really thankful to all of our walkers, all of our teams, all of our team captains. We are looking to raise $175,000 this year, and I think we're going to be able to do it. And that goes a really long way for our organization. We are a slim staff who manage 100 really amazing volunteers. So we're able to really stretch every dollar that we're given and make it count and make sure that we're providing these free services for our community.
Yeah. And I think I just want to reiterate for everybody just to understand that all these programs, like you said, are free. So so anyone in the community that needs, help or wants to talk to someone, they can. So NAMI is doing amazing things. So if you can't participate in the walk, right, you're out of town. Yeah. So how else can people in the community help you guys, year round?
Year round, we have all kinds of things that we're doing year round. One of the ones, I don't know if you've heard the time, treasure, talent saying in nonprofit world. So giving your time, giving your treasure, giving your talent. So
I love that. I've actually never heard that, which is surprising, but I haven't, but I absolutely love that.
Yeah. So those are clearly ways that you can absolutely help our organization. Again, we're an organization built on volunteers. Our volunteers are at the core of everything that we do. And we're always looking for more volunteers. And our volunteers go through a lot of training. Our volunteers do have to go through quite a bit of screening. So it's not a very fast process. It's not like I signed up and then tomorrow I'm going to volunteer. It is a process where you have to go through screening and training. And then our volunteers do give a lot of time. To teach an 8-week course, it's every single week for several hours. And if that's just not within the realm of reason, there are other volunteer opportunities. You can help us with our walk. You can help us. We do have events throughout the year that we look for volunteer support. There's also taking a program. That's how people can support us. We want to be there for you. Please register. Please sign up. It's free. Tell your family and friends about it. Tell them that there is this resource. Help them get connected.
I think a great way to do that, and I always tell a lot of the organizations, which I would like for you to tell your social media handles, is to share your content. So all of your followers and your audience, you don't know who you're touching and who actually needs to hear this that day. So yeah. I always say, that's what I love doing on our page. I just share content of other organizations constantly and all of the time, because you never know who's going to need it. So I think that's also a great way for people to know about your organization. So can you tell us your social media handles?
You can find us on Facebook. Our page is just NAMI Montgomery County, one word, NAMI Montgomery County. We do post on Twitter. We do post on Instagram, but the main content of what we're doing is available on Facebook.
Perfect. And of course, all this is going to be on the show notes. So I know that you were talking earlier and you're like, it's kind of lengthy, the website and where you can find some of the programs and different, the NAMI Walk and all of that, but that'll all be in the show notes for everybody. So you know what, Stephanie, I just want to thank you so much. It's so brave of you to not only just, share your story with us, but you shared it with so many people and you're helping countless people in Montgomery County. So I really am just kind of in awe of what you've been able to accomplish.
And it is not a one-person show. It is with the help of so many other people. And, our volunteers, our program participants inspire me every day as well.
Well, thank you, Stephanie, again. And thank you to all the listeners for tuning in to another episode of A Community of Caring. Until next time. If you would like to learn more about our organization, please follow us on Facebook at Truman Charities or Instagram at Jamie_Truman Charities, or check out our website, trumancharities.com. I hope you enjoyed listening and hearing stories of selflessness and caring. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.